All right, it looks like we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. So today's topic, as you see in the title, is why you feel torn between your old self and your new self. So I have notes today. Very happy. It's actually interesting. I felt like I got this download a few days ago, and I just started writing everything down in a way that ended up being perfect for this video. So I'm just going to share it all with you. So, how it feels, which I'm sure most of you are aware of since you're watching this video. So this is what I've been experiencing recently. I feel like it's interesting. I feel like I'm caught between two worlds. It's like, I mean, it's more than just two, but at the same time, for the sake of this video, I'm going to simplify it into just two. So, to start off, this is really, really hard. It feels like on one side, and I'm going to refer to my notes, I feel present. I feel grateful. I feel really connected. Like, for example, almost always when I walk my dogs, I feel like I'm in this higher state or in the state of my new self. So I see a stranger on the street and I feel love for that person without knowing anything about that person. I trust the process. I trust that regardless of what's going on in my life, regardless of if I perceive it as good or bad, that everything is in my highest good. I'm gentle with myself when I make a mistake or maybe when I do something that isn't completely aligned. I'm non-judgmental of both myself and others. I feel at peace with what is, regardless. I don't feel this need to constantly search for external validation. And even though that doesn't mean like I don't enjoy external validation or want external validation, I don't feel like I'm constantly seeking it in order to fill this void to feel good enough or to feel like I'm worthy of love. I feel unconditional love for myself and for others. I'm able to feel my feelings instantly as they come up. I'm able to experience that emotion without trying to distract myself or trying to run away. I feel observant. I'm authentic and genuine, and I feel sovereign. I feel like I have autonomy and power over my life and my decisions and how I want to live, and enjoy the dogs and cats in the background. I'm sure there'll be little distractions, which will be fun. On the other side, or in this other world or dimension, I feel the need to prove myself. I feel the need to show people that I'm worthy, so I feel like I'm worthy. I feel afraid of failure and rejection, and I almost feel controlled by those fears, so I may act in ways to try to avoid having an external experience confirm that limiting belief that I may still have within myself. So I'm ruled by fear. I constantly look for distractions. So maybe an emotion is coming up and I turn on a YouTube video so I don't have to think about it. And this could be unconscious. Or I don't know, zone out. Zoning out is my favorite activity to do to distract myself from my feelings. It's great. I avoid my feelings. I want to hide my true self and erase my past decisions or mistakes. This is one that's really prevalent for me, especially when it comes to anything that has to do with like hooking up with someone. If I didn't really want to hook up with them, but I did anyway, I almost always afterwards continue to experience this, oh God, why did I do that? That was so dumb. That was so gross. Why did I do that? And I get like really in this state of shame. And instead of really feeling that shame, I just continue throwing shame at myself, if that makes sense, instead of feeling it as it comes up. We'll get more into that. I'm judgmental of myself and of others. And I think the funniest part, which I'm sure you've heard or from me before if you watch my lives, is I will judge someone and then I'll judge myself for judging them. And then I judge myself for judging myself. And it's just this cycle of judgment, which is really interesting. I care a lot about what other people think on this side. And the main one that's really, really been coming up recently is I feel like life is unfair. I feel like I don't deserve these circumstances. I don't deserve to feel this way. I feel like the way I've been treated is not okay, which is really interesting. I think I mentioned this in my last live, but I don't really focus much on past lives. I did when I first went through my awakening. I was really frustrated that none of the experiences were coming through or not coming through clearly. But a little while ago, I was doing a meditation, and there was this life that came up where I believe I was like a Native American woman living in actually like near this area where I live, which I live in Los Angeles. And basically her husband or her partner, who was a man, we heard from another tribe that this is going to sound really weird because if you don't, see, I'm judging myself. I'm catching myself. This is also not related to the live, and it's kind of like personal and bizarre to bring up since, yeah, I could go on forever about all like the thoughts that are coming up. Basically, another tribe or someone else from somewhere else told us that people were coming to colonize this area basically, and my partner decided to go out and basically slaughter a bunch of them. And then when they came here, they slaughtered us because we did that in a very brutal way, and then they did it in a very brutal way. And then I felt like in that vision I saw, it's like I was like, we shouldn't be super violent. We don't need to do that to protect ourselves. Like, this isn't what I want to do. And then of course, like, my partner was then killed really brutally, and I was like, well, this is unfair. Like, I didn't want this to happen. I didn't ask for this to happen. And now I'm being punished, and my emotions and like what I'm experiencing is like, it's not fair. I didn't do this, and yet I'm experiencing this punishment. And so in this meditation, I'm just like bawling my eyes out, like, this is so unfair. And even though like that's something not even from where I am here, I'm still holding that energy of life is unfair, and life is unfair to me specifically. Like, it's more unfair to me than it is to other people, which I thought was really interesting. I'm reading some of your comments. Yeah. And I think even you can tell as I watch this, I'm like, I don't feel like I have the right to talk about this because I am a white woman from in this lifetime, and I'm talking about things that were experienced in a life where things were different from me, and I feel like I'm not allowed to talk about that because of the body I'm in this lifetime, which to me comes from that feeling of shame. And I feel like I should be allowed to, talk about the experiences that I've had or memories that I've encountered in my meditation. Anyways, that's totally off topic. I had this goal of being more on topic this live and staying more focused, and I went on a completely different side tangent that I actually did not expect to go on. So, thank you for listening to that. Let's get back to really the focus of today's video. So, the reason I made this video today is because of a download that I received. And this really gets into the idea of multidimensionality and the fact that we're not just one thing, and we're not necessarily just experiencing one reality, which is why we feel so torn between like these two states, one being our old self and the conditioning and programming that we've been instilled with, and our limiting beliefs, and one being the new self, who we are becoming, and one that is deconditioned, deprogrammed, and one we almost get to create ourselves to be in alignment with our soul or our true nature, as opposed to being in alignment with how do I even put this? The messages that we absorbed from both this life and our familial conditioning and societal conditioning, as well as possibly past lives. So, in this download, I saw myself as a building, and this building had different floors, and within these floors, there were different rooms. And the way I saw it is based on where you put your energy, these rooms can either expand or they can contract. So, you can look at it as levels or different floors. One floor being the old self and one floor being the new self. Basically, from my experience, when I went through my awakening, it's like I was suddenly shot up to the top floor. I was suddenly experiencing all of these like amazing feelings. I felt at peace. I felt like I could see everything for what it is objectively. And I experienced like this very, very high state. And it's almost like my awakening was giving me the key to these other floors that I could access. And the old self, the self that I had been living in and experiencing for a long time, was living in more of these lower floors. These lower floors are not bad. However, these lower floors are not in alignment to my soul. Therefore, it's easy to be there because it's familiar, but you're not going to feel satisfied or comfortable or at peace because you're not truly being your authentic self. Okay? So, within these rooms, what I saw were like a bunch of different people within these different levels. And the larger or more expanded a room is, the more entities or the more people can live in that room or on that floor. And I perceive it as both people and entities. So, for example, if most of my energy is making decisions out of my old self, making decisions out of my programming, I am going to be expanding the levels where entities or people, physical people in my life existing at that vibration have the space to come into my field. So I'm literally opening up space in my field for energies that are aligned to the decisions that I'm making. If I put my energy, my focus, and make choices from my higher self or from my new self or choices that are aligned to my soul, then I am going to be expanding the rooms at those levels. Therefore, I may have larger access to spirit guides who guide me towards what's in alignment to me specifically, as opposed to what I like to call ego guides that will align me to guide me towards what I've already been doing, if that makes sense. So, hold on. I just want to check my notes real quick. Right. Different aspects of self/negative spirits living in your auric field. That's literally the way I perceive it. You're creating room for certain energies to come into your field. Therefore, your thoughts, your urges, and your feelings will be in alignment to the choices, decisions that you're making or the energy that you're playing with. So, your decisions, perspective, etc., determines how big the room is, and therefore how many entities can inhabit your body or inhabit your auric field, and influence you in your life and your decisions and your experiences. So, when you stop investing in the lower dimension, that room shrinks and becomes so small that it has far less power or influence over you, as opposed to these other dimensional energies that you could be investing in. Yeah. Right. Okay. This is, at this point in my life, I feel like super, super torn between these different levels. It feels like I have like two friends on each side of me and they're grabbing my arms and trying to pull me in either direction, and I'm like this, so it's like my feet are off the ground. I feel so like yanked back and forth, and it feels like my body or my soul is like being torn between these two different rooms or these two different worlds or dimensions. And so, first of all, it's very painful. But I think the reason you're so uncomfortable right now with the fact that you're being torn between these two worlds is because the old self that you're not investing in as much, the room is getting smaller. Therefore, the entities within that room or the energies within that room are getting claustrophobic. If there's entities using your auric field as a space or a home or as a source of energy, and that room that they're occupying within your energy is getting smaller, they are going to start getting really riled up to try to convince you to expand that room again. So think of it this way. If you smoke cigarettes and you decide to quit, at first when you stop, those entities that benefit from the fact that that's the energy you're playing in are going to get really loud. You're going to have really strong urges to smoke, even more strong than when you were smoking every day. They're going to get really loud. They're going to get really persistent, and you are going to get so uncomfortable because those energies that have been using your energy or occupying your energy, they're throwing a fit. They're throwing a tantrum with the goal to make you do what they want you to do. Like if you have a little kid, like let's say there's a kid and they fit the stereotype of the spoiled brat. When that kid doesn't get what they want, they get really, really loud. They get really, agitated. And a lot of parents, the reason the kid stays in that state or in that stereotype of the spoiled brat is because the parents are so uncomfortable with the energy that child is presenting that they decide to give them the ice cream or give them the thing that they want so that their energy neutralizes, but it neutralizes temporarily. And therefore, the parent feels more calm, like, oh, thank God that's over. But it's not over because you just incentivize that behavior again. And now that kid is going to do that even more because they know it works. They know that that's how they can get you to give them what they want. With these entities, or with these energies in your field, or these thoughts, or these aspects of yourself, whatever you want to perceive it as, if they know that making you really uncomfortable in a certain way, like making you really anxious, is going to make you do the things that will create more room for them, then they're going to continue that behavior over and over again, and it's only going to get louder and louder and louder. And every time you do that, you're going to expand the room to the point where it may not even be contracting anymore, and they want even more and even more and even more. So there's more energies at that same level in your field. Does that make sense? Okay. It's like I didn't even read any comments. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. Moving on. I know exactly what you're talking about with the floors. That's awesome. I'm glad you get it. So act like the person you want to be. Make choices that they'd make, and you still start to grow towards them. Yes, in a way. But here's the kicker, or here's the difficult part. These energies in your field know that you want to become your highest self. They know that you want to be in alignment to your soul. So what these energies do is they try to convince you that they are in alignment with your higher self, that they are the ones that are in alignment to what you want to be, right? So a lot of these ego guides or entities, or even people in your life, will present themselves as being for your highest good, even though they're not. Okay? So, yes, it's about being who you want to be and making those choices. But think about people who are addicted to working out to the point where it's really unhealthy. Or think about people that, I don't know, went vegan and shame anyone who makes a different dietary decision in their life. There's nothing wrong with being in that energy. However, in their mind or from their conscious perception, most of them think, I work out every day because I love myself and I'm doing what's good for my body. Or I work out every day to be healthy and to look good and to be fit. But there's something beneath that surface level. So yeah, they're maybe living a healthier lifestyle than a lot of other people from a physical standpoint. But at the same time, they're not truly being fueled by their higher self. Because if there's a day where their body and their soul's like, you know what, today's really not a workout day, I really need to rest. And those energies come through saying, no, you need to work out, you need to look good, think about what you'd look like if you weren't working out. And then those energies take precedent, is that the right word? Take priority over being in alignment to your soul and your higher self. Okay? So yes, it is about making the choices that you want to make, but more importantly, it's about tuning into your true self so that these energies can't fool you into thinking that you're actually following your higher guidance when you're not. Okay? And believe me, like I fall for that literally all the time. And it's probably one of the most frustrating parts is like, I don't actually know what I want to do because like both of these sides are presenting themselves as the light or as for my highest good, right? Anyways, so. And at the end of the video, we'll get into how to navigate all of this. So, yes. All right. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So basically the goal is to stop investing in these lower timelines or these lower rooms and stop fueling that energy because then you starve that energy. And therefore, even if that room is still there and it's a tiny room, those thoughts, feelings, and urges that are in alignment with that energetic space are not going to come up as often. And when they do, they're not going to have as much power over you, right? So it won't be as tempting to invest in that room because you already have these other rooms unlocked that you know are far more beneficial to you, right? All right. Beautiful explanation and valuable reminder. Thank you, Sarah. This may be a tangent, but who the fuck is my soul? I don't know, Dani, if that's a thing. Or, I don't know, Dani, that's the thing. Got no idea who my higher self is, who I want to be in a way. Girl, literally, that's what all this is about. I don't know either. Like, it's weird. I do, but I don't. Because your ego gets in the way and tries to create this image in your head. It's not really something you could even define with words. Because my soul in one moment may not be the same energy I'm experiencing in another. In one moment, my soul might be like, oh, I really want to go outside. I really want to talk with people and interact with people. And another moment, my soul's like, nope, I want to be alone. I want to sit in my room. I want to meditate, or I want to play some video games and like have a blast. Like, it's not going to be the same at every single moment. And I think the more we try to cling on to an idea of what our soul or higher self is, the farther away we are from what it actually is. Because we're trying to put it in a box, but God can't be put in a box. Right? Anyways. So, continuing on. So what about the higher dimensional room? For the most part, we've kind of been talking about the lower dimensional room and how they make you like really uncomfortable whenever their room starts shrinking. So I believe personally, from my personal experience thus far on this journey, once you get the key to the higher room and have access to the higher room at all, that room cannot disappear. That room is now unlocked. The room can become really small again, but it's always unlocked because you've been given the key. You can't go back to before the key was given to you, right? So, these rooms exist simultaneously. There's actually something I wanted to do that I wrote down. I completely forgot about it. 1 second. I'm actually going to grab my guitar because I really want to illustrate this idea to you guys. So 1 minute. Okay. I don't know if my guitar's in tune, but if not, then that kind of works. So, the reason I brought this out is because I think it really illustrates something important. The goal with this building is not necessarily to have only higher floors and no lower floors. The idea is to have all of these floors in this building be in alignment to each other. So with a guitar, for example, okay, it's in tune. All of these notes work together and therefore it sounds correct. So I may sound like this in alignment. You may sound like this in alignment. Neither one is right or wrong or better or worse, but that means that our ideas, our feelings, and our behaviors are going to be different because we're not the same. We're not the same. When we're out of alignment, our chord may sound more like, let's see if I can actually find something that's wrong. It may sound like that. Is that the experience you want to have of your life, is sounding like an out of tune guitar, or do you want to be in alignment? It's not just about, we like to think of it as higher and lower, and I think that's a good illustration from some perspectives, but it's not just about that because we're living as physical beings. If eating a bag of hot Cheetos is in alignment to you now, yeah, maybe that substance of hot Cheetos is low vibrational, but if it's in alignment to the song on the guitar, then it's not the same as you eating those hot Cheetos because you feel this desperate need for it, or because you feel like because there's an entity trying to expand that room through that medium because you have an addiction to this thing. Does that make sense? There's not a compulsive motivator. It's an intuitive motivator. Right? Okay. So, when you're split between these two worlds, it's really uncomfortable for the higher self and the ego to be out of alignment, like what you heard on the guitar on that totally incorrect chord. It feels very uncomfortable. If you listen to a whole song of just chords like that, you would not enjoy it. If you heard a song of chords that were all in tune with each other, it would feel good. And it's the same with your life. If you're living a life that's out of tune, you're not going to have a good time. If you're living a life that's in tune, you're going to enjoy yourself. And that tune may change over time as well, which is the interesting part. I could really approach this from so many angles, but I'm going to try to, again, stay on topic. Perfect timing for me to see this. I'm so glad. Spiritual battle. This reminds me of tripping over myself when I think about using the brain to study neuroscience in college. How that sort of is what the higher self and what is ego energy, meditation. Yeah, that's interesting. It's like very, very meta. We're using our brains to study and observe the way the brain works. Because you've been giving the key. Dang, okay, that's cool. I'm glad. Beautiful messages here. Thank you. So Shana. I recently discovered this channel. Thank you for your guidance. Thank you, Pascal. Actually, my sister's name is Pascal, so that's cool. You have the same name as my sister. For the right perspective, though, would you perhaps enjoy it? I don't know quite what you mean, but do you mean like... Yeah. Yeah. I think if I'm understanding what you're asking, you will be enjoying your experience when you're living in the right perspective, or I like to think of it as the aligned perspective. This kind of brought up a whole topic of like higher self, lower self, and all those things, when really I think it's more about aligned versus unaligned self, as opposed to higher or lower. I don't know. I think sometimes we think, this is high vibrational, this is low vibrational, so I have to do these high vibrational things. And we don't question, okay, but is that high vibrational thing that we're like, I need to do that, is that actually for you? Or is that just something that's in alignment to other people and makes them feel like their highest selves, or their best selves, or their most like soulful selves? Like when you're most connected to God, when you are fully in alignment, when you are in that highest state, you have that connection to source or God or the universe or whatever you want to call it, or even just your higher self, if you want to perceive it that way. I don't know if everyone here is as spiritual as I am, but I am very spiritual. Therefore, I will speak at things from a very spiritual angle. Yeah. So your soul is at, just like, I'm going to keep referring to the guitar because I'm so proud of that example, even though I'm sure other people have used it. Your soul is at a certain frequency. You want to tune the strings on your guitar to that frequency so that you are living as your soul instead of living as like something else or what your society wants you to be. For example, if the collective of the United States and the government of the United States and the media and like the whole entity is existing at a certain frequency, and there's this pressure for you to conform to that frequency, but that energy or that frequency is not compatible with your soul, then you are living out of alignment by living in alignment to what probably almost everybody around you wants you to live in alignment to. So for most of us, if we choose to become into alignment, we're not going to be living conventionally. Other people will be annoyed because they're like, hey, you're supposed to be doing these things when those things aren't in alignment to you. You know that, and you're sovereign and powerful and confident enough in yourself and love yourself enough to realize that's not for me, and that's okay. And your uncomfortability with it is probably because that person knows it's not in alignment to them either, and they feel pissed that you have the guts to say no to that thing, and they don't. So they're mad that they're complying and you're not. That's one thing I've realized about this. Or they could be in alignment to it and they're confused that you're not, because since it's a cultural norm to be in alignment to it, they're pissed that you're not doing the thing and they think you should. Anyways, that's how I look at it. And again, all of this is easier said than done. This is so much harder to do because it's funny. I feel like intuitively I know all these things, and then I go out into my life and I'm like, I'm just gonna do that thing that's familiar because I like it and it's easy. And then it's instant gratification and I feel good. And then I feel again because my guitar's out of tune, right? So anyways, this actually perfectly goes into my next part. This next part is all about how to navigate this shit because, girl, it is not easy. Get yourself some water if it's in alignment to you. sometimes I feel like I'm hilarious, and sometimes I'm struggling to speak. Sometimes I feel like I'm hilarious, and sometimes I feel like I'm the only one that finds me funny, but that's okay. I love it. Okay, so how to navigate. First, and again, all of these steps are easier said than done. Feel your emotions. Feeling your emotions does not mean I feel really angry that my mom did something to piss me off and I'm going to yell at her and get mad. That's not feeling your feelings. That is reacting to your feelings. You feel a feeling. That feeling comes with an urge, and that urge says, get really mad at your mom. You yell at your mom to project that energy out. You're investing your energy at that level instead of being like, I'm going to experience this feeling because it's an indicator or a message that's telling me what is existing or resonating in my field. And feeling this feeling without judgment gives me the opportunity to transmute it and put this energy wherever I like. If you let the emotion control you, you are going to continue to circulate back to yourself more of the same energy. If you feel that energy in your body, now you have access to this energy and you can do whatever you want with it. It's interesting because I didn't even expect to say that. That just funneled right through me. But it's true. You have access to that energy. For example, I'm going to bring this up in a previous video, or previous, what am I saying? Future video that I've previously already made my notes for. I had this time, oh God, my dog's snoring. Hope it's not distracting. Oh wait, I woke her up. I was feeling numb, and I decided to just feel the numbness itself. And suddenly I unlocked like new energy that was beneath that wall or that barrier. And I suddenly had access to this energy. And with that energy, I was able to access the past life that I mentioned previously in this video. I wasn't searching for it, but it came to me because it was in alignment to feeling that I was feeling. Does that make sense? Anyways, so how do things make you feel? That's the next question to ask yourself. In feeling your feelings, notice where you feel it in your body and notice how things make you feel. So for example, when you drink water, how does that impact you? And I don't just mean how does it impact you right now in this moment. Because a good feeling does not equal being in alignment, and a bad feeling does not equal being out of alignment. The reason that is for what we talked about earlier with the rooms. When a room is shrinking and those energies get really uncomfortable, they're going to try to pester you to give them energy so that their room expands and they don't feel claustrophobic anymore, or they don't feel like they're about to be squeezed out of their home. However, okay, this is also where it gets kind of tricky. Just because you feel bad doesn't mean it's out of alignment. And again, when you give energy to those lower levels or those lower rooms, they're going to make you feel good and make you feel at peace, make you feel like, oh, I just had a weight lifted off my chest. Now I don't have to deal with that. That good feeling is not in alignment, because the reason you're feeling that good feeling is because you're getting this release from that discomfort. Okay? So it's not just about how things make you feel in the moment, but about the impact it's having on your life at large. But since we have so much stimulus in our day-to-day lives, it can be so hard to pinpoint what things are actually in alignment to us. Because, for example, if in general I feel anxious and unsatisfied and like I'm not good enough, that doesn't mean me drinking a lot of water is out of alignment to me. I can pin it on that. But it doesn't mean that's the problem. It could be the fact that I'm watching YouTube every moment when I wake up and every moment when I fall asleep. Like, not all day. I'm saying, like, the moment I wake up, I watch YouTube, and then I watch YouTube before I fall asleep. Or the fact that I'm not eating during the day and I only eat late at night. Or the fact that I'm eating a lot. It's like all of these things kind of clump together into the general energy you're feeling, and it can be hard to know what things are coming from where. Yeah. One thing you can try is cutting something out of your life temporarily and seeing if that has a difference on how you feel, whether that's you feel more connected with yourself or more disconnected from yourself. I think that's the main one we want to focus on. Less about how good or bad, but more about how connected we feel to our intuition or to our higher self. All right. Where do good and bad feelings come from? Another thing to pay attention to, but obviously I think the challenge, all of these things, you can fool yourself into thinking anything, and that's what's really hard about it. Like, I get into this state where I'm really confused. Like, for example, I don't know what I want to do next with my life. I'm at the age where I'm supposed to graduate from college this year if I was on a normal trajectory. However, I'm not in school right now. I'm supposed to be in school, but it just doesn't feel right to me. But on one side, there are these voices saying, like, oh no, you need to do that. You need to go down this path right now. And I know it's not in alignment to me, at least at this point in my life. However, I sometimes confuse myself because I try to convince myself otherwise. So I would be acting in alignment to what I have been raised to do, or to do what is culturally normal or appropriate based on my environment and the people I've grown up with. Like, I went to a college prep high school. Like, I never expected that I would take this path at all. Yeah. Right. The more present you are, the louder your intuition gets, which is really hard because when we're not present with the fact that we're not present. When we're not present, we're somewhere else, and our energy is going to whatever we're thinking about. Like, even when I'm watching a YouTube video, I'll notice, like, I'm not even fully watching the video. I'm thinking about something else. Like, a few minutes, not even a few minutes, a little while before this live, I was watching a video and eating at the same time. And at some point I realized I wasn't watching the video. I was like playing like a show that I had watched in my head. It was Hamilton the musical. I was like singing the songs in my head and like eating my chips. And I was like, I'm not even here. Like, I don't know where I went, but I'm clearly not in the present moment. The more you come into the present moment, or when you're not in the present moment, it's because you consciously chose to be somewhere else, not because you're like being pulled there unconsciously. You're going to be connected to more because everything is right now. Everything you could ever possibly want or need is here in this present moment within you. And in your external reality too. You can get messages from the physical, but really it's all you. It's all you. You're the one with the power. And when you're not here, you're giving your power away to something, like a thought. Okay? And again, I don't want you to think that's bad or always out of alignment. Because, for example, I've been writing a script for myself, and the way that I come up with what I want to happen in the plot is by imagining and taking myself out of my present now moment to enter the world of the story that I'm creating. But that's not out of alignment to me because I'm consciously choosing to transport my consciousness into this world that I'm creating so it can become more fleshed out and developed, so that when I do write the script and do write those scenes, I'm not sitting there like, what do I do? I'm pulling from an experience that I created with my consciousness or with my mind. Do you see the difference between Oh, I'm thinking about a show I watched. Versus I'm transporting myself here consciously and I'm present in that other moment that I've made. I hope that makes sense. I think it makes sense. Neutrality, being in a neutral state, makes it easier to discern what is your ego, which I like to call static in this example, and what is your higher self / intuition / message / knowing. I was watching an Instagram video that was like, test your intuition. And there were 3 crystals. And instantly, I didn't even read the text that was like, intuition test, do this, do that. I just looked at it and I was like, that one, the rose quartz. Like it came to me instantly. And then I was like, oh no, what if it's not rose quartz? What if it's something else? And then my mind was like, okay, close your eyes, try to feel it. Which one do you feel like it is? And I was like trying to like think or feel what it was. And then it's like, I could feel all of them. And I was like, oh God, like what even is it? Then I opened my eyes and I'm like, and of course the crystal they picked up is the one that instantly came to me. So the way I see that is once I was attached to getting the answer right, I started freaking out. My mind started freaking out and trying to find the answer drastically. But when I was in a neutral place, didn't even know what it was, wasn't even trying to be like, I need to get this intuition test correct. It came to me instantly. The reason why it can be so hard to connect to our intuition isn't because we're not connected to it. It's because the static or the ego is really loud, and therefore the message becomes like cloudy or musty. Your intuition is always there. I mean, from one perspective, you can be disconnected from it, but from the perspective I'm speaking from, I'm going to be saying that you're always connected to your intuition. The difference is how loud is your ego. When you perceive things as good or bad, then those messages can override what your intuition is saying to the point where you don't even see it or don't even hear it. I like how I said see it and hear it, even though it's the opposite. You don't even see it and you don't even hear it. I second guess my intuition all the time. Exactly, because we have an attachment to getting things right. If we stand in a neutral place, those other messages will not become so charged over it, especially if those other messages are like telling you what your intuition is doing, but they're existing at a frequency or an energy or vibration or whatever you want to call it. If it's existing at a different state, then even if you make that same choice, you're not making it from an aligned place. You're making it from an ego place and from a, oh no, I really hope this is the right decision. I got to do this. I got to get it right. Yeah, that's something I experience all the time. It's great. Okay. So practice observing, notice the impulsive thoughts without acting on it. Easier said than done, really. So a lot of this is about observation and neutralizing those energies, and how we really neutralize it is by feeling it. Because again, when you feel those energies, instead of that energy being what it came to you as, it's like you take it, you feel it, it's now in your hands, and you're like, cool, what do I want to do with it? Do I want to put it into making a video? Do I want to put it into hanging out with someone? Like, I don't even know if those are good examples. But my whole point is, this energy that now you've just felt is now yours. It's not, this energy was sent to you, and its goal is for you to just let that energy onto someone else. But you don't have to do that, right? Anyways. Right. One impulse I wanted to bring up for myself, just to give some context to when I've experienced this, I was with a friend and they were explaining some of the challenges they've been experiencing in their life. They feel like they should do certain things. They feel like they should go down certain career paths. And as they were saying all of this, I had this really strong urge to be like, well, first of all, I asked them, do you actually want to do that thing, or do you feel like you should do that thing? Like, do you feel like you should do it in order to, I don't know, be good or live a good life or so the people around you accept you? Or do you genuinely want to do that thing because it lights a fire under your ass? Because they were saying, like, I know I should do this thing, but like I haven't done it and I feel like I should just get down to it. And as they were talking, they were explaining why they wanted to do it. And from my perspective, I was like, they don't want to do that. They think they want to do that. They really don't want to do that. And I was about to say it, and then I realized they're not asking for my opinion right now. I don't need to insert what I'm thinking onto that other person. If they want to know how I feel about what they're saying, then awesome, I will give my insight. But at this moment, I'm going to keep this to myself and simply observe where they're at and love where they're at, because I've been there. And sometimes I can still be there, right? When you fuel certain energies, that energy continues to come back in that same form. Think about how much easier it might be to like feel happiness as opposed to feel anger. It's so much easier to gain that energy, right? Or to have like access to it and choose like, what do I do with this? But even happiness can influence you to do things that are out of alignment, and it can work in any context. Yeah. So I'm going to end this video, but what I'm going to end with is all of this shit is really fucking hard. This is not easy work to do. And one of my goals with making content like this is to show people that there's a lot of teachers out there who are amazing and I love them. And they've been on this journey for a lot longer. And therefore, they're not in an energetic space to necessarily, they're not presently experiencing what I'm experiencing, for example. So whether you're watching this like in 5 years or watching this live with me right now, you are receiving the information that I'm giving as someone who's in a place of being in this torn state and currently navigating it. And therefore, the perspective I give you may be different than the perspective of a teacher who went through this 5 years ago, right? And I think it's important because personally, all the time, I feel like I'm the only person experiencing this, because there's not many people talking about like, I feel so torn and it's so uncomfortable. And I literally will bawl crying because I'm trying not to be my old self and I still feel this strong pull towards it. And to not choose that is so fucking painful. When I feel an urge to watch a video when I know I don't want to watch it, to choose not to watch it takes a lot of energy and takes a lot of guts. And it's like weird because from an outside perspective, it's such a tiny decision. It's such a tiny thing that like shouldn't impact you, but it does. And it's really hard. And not enough people really talk about that and really talk about like the fact that this journey is so not easy. And I'm really proud of you for doing this. You're not alone. You're not the only person experiencing this. And everyone you see that is in a, like, that is really aligned or in a place you want to be, they've been where you are. They may not fully remember everything it's like. I mean, I don't know. I haven't like, I'm in a certain place in my journey. I obviously don't know, like, in every step of your journey, you realize you don't know what the next step is actually going to feel like. You think you know, and then you get there, and then you realize, oh shit, I was totally wrong about this next stage. But from my perception, maybe someone who is at a different point in this journey may not fully 100% be able to be at my level where I am experiencing these two worlds in the same way at the same time and be able to give me the insight that helps me right now, right? It's like if I was talking to someone from where I was like 4 years ago, where I was really depressed and really anxious and felt like I was desperate. Desperate was really the energy I was in. If I were speaking to myself at that point, I would not be able to be best friends with who I was or good friends with who I was because their energy and my energy would not be compatible because I would then that energy would bring me to that energy in a sense. So I wouldn't be able to play in it as much. The perfect people for me when I was at that point in my life was people in the same place so that I could recognize where I was, so that I could become who I am today. I hope that makes sense. But I think I'm saying it's the same as like maybe some other teachers. So if like you're in a place where it's really hard and you're looking at other people on this journey and thinking, I'm not good enough, or I'm not there yet and there must be something wrong with me, there's other people like you thinking those same things, and you are not bad for being less evolved than you think you should be right now. Okay? And I actually it's funny, like whenever I'm on here, I don't feel like super emotional, but I swear to God, like I may seem very composed right now, but I literally bawl my eyes out over this shit, and I'm like, I'm not even crying over anything real. I'm crying over this idea of like what I'm doing in my life, what I'm doing in my journey, and I feel like I need to rush to be in alignment and as healed as possible. Take a breath, okay? All right, I know I haven't really been interacting with the comments much this video, but you know, I'll read them afterwards, and I may leave some messages after I end this live. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Share this video if you feel like maybe you have someone else in your life who would love to hear my rants. And yeah, I'm very grateful for you. Have a good one, you guys.